allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Here.
Clint Cybert.
Here.
Leanne Dyer. Josh Putnam.
Here.
Craig Walker.
Here.
And I received an email that James McCann would be absent.
Correct. Okay, any changes or additions to the agenda?
I don't have anything other than we've met a couple of times on the manager form of government. Do we need to have a discussion that you could think of?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll bring it up next workshop.
So we'd like to remove it?
Yes. I would like to add the meter reading.
Meter reading?
Water meter.
So that'd be the new E? Anything else? Okay. So moving forward, the first item on the agenda is a discussion, ADHL lag agreement, acting public works community development director.
I'm just going to move right to, I'm going to let Sean from AHPL go over this.
Evening, council members and Mr. Mayor. Sean Comfort, AHBL, 2250 North 30th Street, Tacoma, on-call consultant for the Pacific. So what you have in front of you tonight is a draft local agency guideline or leg agreement, consultant agreement for the Milwaukee Boulevard project. Also, you've got I believe a draft resolution within your packet. Just a quick bit of history. This project, back in September, interviews were conducted, and AHBL was chosen as the select consultant for the project. During the November-December timeframes, we had some issues regarding availability of funds for this project, and as of the middle of December, you will recall, council took action to ensure funds were obligated for the design portion of this project. The right-of-way portion for acquisition, if required, and construction funds, we will be working with staff to forward a grant request in the middle of this year for those funds. But this particular contract is for design services only, not for the process of right-of-way and construction administration services. So if the council chooses to move the agreement forward, the resolution would give, I believe, the mayor authority to execute the agreement. Now, one more thing to add to, in this particular case, the state of Washington Department of Transportation is the CA, or if you will, the sponsor for this project. So this draft agreement has been routed to local programs for their review as well. I've not received comments as of yet. My intention is to get all the comments incorporated this week, if any, into the agreement and or comments you may have, so that we come back for council action agreements in its final format. Questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, next item on the agenda is a discussion regarding employee dishonesty crime insurance policy.
We met with the insurance broker on Friday, and provided in your packet is the revised proposal for coverage. And if you go to page number 8, there's a project summary. When we met on Friday, only the first 2 were received, and then they received the National Union afterwards. The difference between the fidelity and deposit and the National Union is fidelity is discovery crime coverage, and the National Union Fire is a loss sustained coverage. The Great American has much higher deductibles all around, as well as a higher premium. The recommendation from the broker is the loss sustained coverage, which just so happens to be the lower premium.
Questions from council? Sean?
What's the cost, out of pocket for the second one that you're talking about?
$2,311, the annual premium is $2,311.
Councilmember Walker?
I apologize if this has been covered in anything that I've been gone. Is this something that was covered under the former insurance policy, and this is a gap that we discovered?
Yes.
It's a gap we knew we had when we took the other coverage, but it wasn't an absolutely essential gap to fill, to keep the city running. So yeah, it's covered under the old policy.
And is this something we've had claims on over the last, say, 5 years, just to get an idea of risk?
I do not have that information.
I don't remember anything coming up, but
I can't recall any, but, as general prudence, you've got employees who handle cash, you've got employees who handle the checking account, you've got employees who handle, could, disappear small equipment, the sort of thing that generally you should have.
and which page has deductibles? Or I'm not seeing.
I've got these two. On page number 10 shows the Fidelity deposit deductible. Each one of them is separate.
Got it. Thank you.
And then as you go back, page 13 has got the Great American, and page 16 has got the National Union Fire.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions from council? Council pleasure?
Move forward with the, lost coverage.
So which would be the National Union Fire?
Loss discovered or loss sustained?
Yes, sorry.
Loss sustained.
Yeah, loss sustained. We don't, the difference is that if something gets stolen and we don't notice it during the year that we're insured, then it's not covered. If we notice it, if something gets stolen this year, or some employee commits another act this year, but we don't find out about it until next year, then it's not covered.
So moving forward with the loss sustained on the National Union Fire.
That's the,
Yes.
The 2311. All right, next item on the agenda, city personnel policy regarding the maximum vacation accrual.
Okay, this has been discussed at both finance committee and with the union, representative. I do now have, email verifying from both union reps that they approve of the terminology used and are okay with it, agreeable to it as it's written. And the city attorney told me he would get back to me this morning, and I didn't hear from him, so I'm guessing that it's nothing to change.
I don't see the emails.
The emails just came
in.
in.
Oh, okay.
I can provide them for you.
It was just the one thing I wanted to make sure we had before we went and moved forward with it.
One from Richard Groff and one from Evie.
So if you can include those in our packet.
Absolutely.
That would be great. Any questions from council?
Change only covers, uniformed officers.
No, it covers all employees. And it covers them all, the same. Right now, it's like depends on who you are as to what is happening, and it's a little bit more difficult to keep track of, so this would bring it all in uniform.
Did you have another question, Councilman Wilson? Anybody else? Council pleasure?
Move forward.
Next item on the agenda is a discussion amending the municipal code regarding business and occupation tax and administrative fees.
This is Exhibit A and B, this is right off of the new model ordinances, as recommended by the, AWC and the group that they put together of cities. And it brings us into compliance. It should have been effective January 1, so we're a little bit behind the curve. There's lines along. When it copied, it didn't come in red like
I see
it
that.
was. So I made lines along the sides so that you'd see. There's a difference in the color, but it's pretty subtle.
Very high tech.
Very subtle. So I scribbled on the edges and the margins where the changes are. It's primarily changing for digital activities, and there's some changes for insurance, and outline.
Interest on investment.
Yes. But it's all in accordance with the model ordinance. If you choose to move forward, then I will prepare an ordinance, because it'll have to be adopted by ordinance to change the municipal code. The last time it was adopted with Exhibit A and B rather than, incorporated into a one-page ordinance. So that's what I was moving forward with.
Questions from council? And Councilmember, Putnam, I didn't know if you want to expand on this, we went over it in finance committee, as chair of finance.
Oh, it's, the state periodically changes the, model code to keep up with changes in the economy. In this case, the old code, primarily from before software was anything you had to worry about significant sales of. So it's turned into, digital goods are now a significant share of sales, so it clarifies where they fit in the tax scheme. And then on insurance, it clarifies that if you are an insurance company or insurance producer subject to the gross premium tax, that you're not also subject to the B&O tax for it.
Any questions from council? From that. Okay, council pleasure. Okay, next item on the agenda, Councilmember Steiger was to talk about meter reading.
Yes, at our last public works meeting, we discussed with Ken on some places where the council, where we might be able to help a little bit in making the efficiency a little better. And Ken's recommendation, and we looked at it, and I believe we've done it in the past, would be read the meters every other month, but we bill every month. In other words, we bill an estimate amount 1 month, and then we read the meters and send an adjusted meter bill the second month. This is the same thing that the power company does. I believe it's the same thing that the gas company does. And I know my bill fluctuates some, so I'll let Ken go ahead and speak more on the issue if we have, but he can give you a better idea of what our time savings would be, that especially going into this time of the year, we're going to start mowing and other things, and so there's probably time spent much better than reading meters every month. I don't know. Ken can fill us in on the time. I don't have that figure.
Basically, every month it takes about 2.5 to 3 days for the crew to go around and read meters. And so it would be at least 1 month, every other month, there would be a savings of approximately 3 days of labor.
That would be 2 people also, right?
That's actually 4 people.
4 people.
Yeah.
Question?
Councilmember Jones.
Oh, thank you. How do we project the other month? How are we gonna grab a hold of that?
You do it on an average of what the consumption has been. Basic water consumption is an average, and we can do that on an average, and then you just adjust that 1 month, and after so long you'd be real close.
But I was just saying, because I know around August, I use a lot more water when I fill my swimming pool than I do any other time of the year. Don't read my meter that way.
Councilmember Putnam.
What, do we need a change then in our policy on leak credit? If there's a chance that we're gonna have a leak go undiscovered for 2 months rather than 1 month?
We talked about that. We hadn't talked about changing the policy on that.
Councilmember Slater.
Well, one thing I don't understand, leak, I mean, I've had numerous water leaks, and, you know, in the evening, when everything's quiet, everything's shut down, you can hear your leak. I mean, even if your toilet plunger isn't quite sealed, the tanks run a little bit, you can hear it. And if you have a leak out in your yard or something else, you'll telegraph back in and you'll hear it. So, I mean, I have a real problem. I mean, I can appreciate one time where you're at work or something, you come home, and the faucet froze, and you had a 3/4 line running all day out in your backyard or something, that's something that you couldn't accept. It couldn't, I mean, have no way of knowing. But anything else, this constant leak all the time, and then wanting to come in for a credit, I mean, I would think we could handle those on separate issues at a time, I mean, rather than reforming our whole policy, because we reform our whole policy, then they're gonna want 2 months credit instead of 1 month's credit, and I mean, it's gonna get away from us. And the only time that my bill fluctuates is July and August. I went through them all after our meeting, and it fluctuates maybe $2-3 a month is all, except July and August, then they spike. Just because my wife's got a water proposing, but, so I see no objection to why we couldn't read every other month. So I don't know, I'm throwing it out.
Councilmember Holton.
Actually, if we set it up to go on a budget system, Springbrook already has that capability. They can go back and average water usage for the last 2 or 3 years, come up with a flat rate monthly bill for each address, and meter reading just verifies that there's no leak, and that there's still, that their water habits haven't changed any. And it'd be real simple to set up.
Any other comments from council?
I had one other comment. Normally, if there's a leak in the house and you hear it, you're gonna wanna get it fixed because it's gonna cause some serious damage.
Councilmember Jones.
Just in relationship to Councilmember Halsey's, idea, I don't know if Betty can look into that as far as, the system and how that would work. Maybe provide us some insight from the finance department of the program.
Yes, Ken?
I know in the past, the meters were read like quarterly, and it was averaged over that way. And one reason why council went to the monthly was for finance. It was just for financial reasons why they went to monthly. Cause they bill quarterly at that time too.
So is this something that we want to go to Public Works, to the committee before it comes back, or is it?
It already has been.
It kinda already has been.
So, and, do we have policy then that's gonna support it, or that's the next step?
That would be the next step.
I also think we need to have some insight from Betty's looking for how that software that Gary was talking
Right.
about could or couldn't work.
And then maybe if we could get some idea from, possibly Angelica, since she deals with mostly the billing, when people come in and discover they've had a leak, or they want a waiver, or whatever, when there's an issue, like how long that leak persisted, was there, or usually people tend to know right away, usually, but I don't know. I would like to have maybe a report from staff that can kind of give us an idea, they know what they're dealing with at the window. What does council think about that? And, I know we don't have any other items on the agenda. I was wondering if we could suspend the rules.
Moving it
To policy.
next workshop with all the supplemental information.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I knew what I was thinking. Okay, so, okay, the next item, I would like, council, if council wouldn't mind, or if we could suspend the rules. I know we've already completed the agenda, but I was hoping that maybe the mayor would be willing to give us an update on the situation if he's posted for city clerk or where we're at with that. Is that okay with council? Mayor?
No comment.
No update on the city clerk position, or have you posted it? I was wondering if you could give us an update on the situation with the city clerk, if it's been posted, or what the situation
Well, I
is?
say no comment because it's well known. Okay, for the city clerk, the reason why she was discharged is because she didn't satisfactorily fulfill her trial period. And, I put out an advertising for another city clerk. In the meantime, we'll have Sandy Hall as interim city clerk. She has been a city clerk for Pacific, and she's retired from the city of Des Moines. She'll be here tomorrow morning to carry on the duties on a temporary basis. Is that all?
Yes, thank you, I did not know that, so I appreciate you informing council that this is not for an interim. Okay, there's nothing else, the meeting is adjourned.
Gotta go to court tonight.
Oh my goodness. That's fine, I just thought you were here to ask a question.